Do not compromise on the processes. Though it's boring, do not compromise on the monitoring.
कंज्यूमर्स को अपने आप को प्रोटेक्ट करने के लिए क्या स्टेप्स लेने चाहिए जब वो फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज यूज कर रहे हैं?
There are certain things you should not look for convenience. Security, your financial security is paramount than convenience. Certain times it's okay getting into your bank account every time, type password and go inside, take a OTP and do transactions. I see the big change is going to be again the point which I earlier mentioned about regulatory framework. That's going to be the big game changer in the 5 years down the line. We never thought 10 years down the line or 15 years before that we are going to settle down with such a cybersecurity framework with the regulator, what we are sitting down now. So which means 5 years down the line, it's going to be even complex.
Hello everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode of Bazaar Beyond, where we dive into the latest trends, insights and expert opinions shaping industries today to help you make smarter decisions with your money. मैं हूं आपका होस्ट शिव नारायणन और आज इस एपिसोड में हम टैकल करेंगे एक ऐसा टॉपिक दैट हैज बिकम एब्सोल्युटली क्रिटिकल इन टुडेज डिजिटल फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड, द ग्रोइंग इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ साइबर सिक्योरिटी इन फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज। जैसा कि हम सब जानते हैं, फाइनेंशियल इंडस्ट्री हमेशा से साइबर थ्रेट्स का प्राइम टारगेट रहा है, लेकिन जैसे जैसे टेक्नोलॉजी इवॉल्व हो रही है वैसे वैसे साइबर अटैक्स भी और ज़्यादा सोफिस्टिकेटेड हो रहे हैं। चाहे वो क्लाइंट डेटा का प्रोटेक्शन हो, फाइनेंशियल ट्रांजैक्शंस का इंटेग्रिटी मेंटेन करना हो या रैंसमवेयर और डेटा ब्रीचेस से बचाव। फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस को अपने साइबर सिक्योरिटी सिस्टम को कॉन्स्टेंटली अपग्रेड करना पड़ता है। और आज हमारे साथ है इस टॉपिक के एक्सपर्ट मिस्टर हरी नायर, चीफ टेक्नोलॉजी ऑफिसर मिरेए एसेट कैपिटल मार्केट्स। हरी सर के पास फाइनेंस और टेक्नोलॉजी के कॉम्प्लेक्स इंटरसेक्शन को समझने का 20+ इयर्स का इनवैल्यूएबल एक्सपीरियंस है और आज वो हमारे साथ अपने इनसाइट शेयर करेंगे कि कैसे फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस अपनी साइबर सिक्योरिटी फ्रेमवर्क्स को स्ट्रेंथन कर सकते हैं और कैसे हमारे रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स सतर्क रह सकते हैं, स्पेशली with all the new emerging threats. Hari sir, welcome to the show. We are very excited to have you.
Thank you, Shiv, for having me here. I'm too excited to be part of this show, and I hope mStock listeners will take a valuable lessons from out of this show.
चलिए फिर शुरू करते हैं। हरी सर, सबसे पहले हमें ये समझना होगा why is cyber security becoming such a big deal in the financial services sector today? पिछले कुछ सालों में हमने काफ़ी एडवांसमेंट्स देखी हैं, बट इसके साथ साथ ये साइबर थ्रेट्स भी बढ़ गए हैं, राइट?
So it's not just the financial services industry. In fact, the threat is there for all the industries where whoever uses a B2C customer data. But financial services poses higher threat due to the fact that they access to the sensitive data big time. One, customer profile, customer transactions, because almost all the regulatory says about when you onboard a customer, you need to take their PAN card information, Aadhaar card information. There are sensitive data about the customers, you keep it. Second, typically all the financial institutions deal with the financial transactions, which means you end up having a customer's financial transaction also with us. These are all the gold mine for cyber attackers. Okay, so that's one of the main reasons. Financial services poses a higher threat compared to anybody else. Second thing is regulatory compliances. Okay, whether you talk about RBI, whether you talk about SEBI, they have a stringent compliance laws, regulations to manage the data. That's the another one that becomes a cyber big threat. The third is pretty common, I would say. It's not just only the financial services, is an insider threat, which is typically the employees or contractors who have access to the this sensitive data. They possess a threat for a leakage outside. So how do you overcome this? That's the three broader areas I would see that where this becomes a big deal in the industry. Second, now in terms of preparedness, if you take it I can take from my experience and what we do here, or probably commonly which we discuss with our other fellow CTOs also in the industry. One, the new advanced technology techniques. We use artificial intelligence to detect patterns on any attacks which is happening, and automated response to kill it. For an example, if there is any network traffic is coming from a specific location continuously, then we know that it's an attack which is happening to us. They're trying to steal the information. So we identify and thwart that attack. Second, there's a training, education happening with our employees as well. Typically, what happens is you get a phishing mail. You don't even know. It's just like a gift card which is coming to you. You end up clicking it, and then the ransomware gets downloaded. So this, how do you ensure that your employees are, the awareness is created to employees is very important. The third thing is constant training also, tools to be given to the employee, guidelines. Then the fourth, probably the last is the internal audits. And you need to have a periodic audit in terms of sensitive data, who has access to it. These are all the common themes in which organizations work, including us. This helps to create the preparedness to, in tomorrow, if there is any issue happens or a potential issue likely to happen, you are in a position to attack it, control it immediately, or in case if they are able to breach, you have created a footprint to identify how you are able to locate what has come inside, what data has gone. So you have enough mechanisms to prove that you control the data leakage to minimalist effect.
और अगर हम बात करें प्रेजेंट सिनारियो की, तो आज के टाइम में बिगेस्ट साइबर सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट्स क्या हैं जो फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस फेस कर रहे हैं?
See, there are multiple attacks. Type of attacks happen to the organizations. I cannot say which one is the biggest, but in terms of the value which it has extracted, ransomware talks about the number one, where people try to steal the information, then they hold you for a ransom to release it, or encrypt the data and then hold it for a ransom. Phishing, where impersonating and somebody inside the organization to steal that information, which is again stealing somebody's record for unlawful gains, which is another one which is a pretty common. But that typically happens to the individual, but ransomware happens to the larger to the attack. Then third thing is DDoS. DDoS is a distributed attack. What typically happens is you go and put your malware in multiple computers or multiple laptops. So you got a phishing mail, you clicked open, ransomware gets inside to the laptop. Like that, it goes to the millions of computers. And one all wake up predefined a time and then start attacking a particular service. This is to create a kind of threat to the organization that they are not scalable, they are going down, their services go down. It could be I cannot say it's is it to do with the competition or anything, but it's largely came from a non-state actors, which we have seen predominantly DDoS attacks to kill a particular service, to create, cripple the economy down. We have seen that big in Wall Street's had impact. Banks have an impact. Multiple banks have an impact. The same. These all happens out of the DDoS attack. Though individually we invest huge technology to identify the DDoS, but they distribute in a such a way that it's very difficult to detect the patterns. Right. So there are, like, we also have access to the technology. They also have an access to the technology. Yeah. Who the cyber attackers. So it's a constant. You're working to improve to the get of the best, but the top of the list is a ransomware.
ये तो लगता है हर इंस्टीट्यूशन के लिए एक नाइटमेयर बन गया है, राइट? कि कोई ब्रीच ना हो जाए.
See, as a CTO, most of the nights I don't get to a good sleep, thinking that somebody should not breach. That happens to the entire industry because we invest technology, but there's been a constant threat to the growing economy, like in India, coming from forces outside. They're crippling the economy. One happens within. There are paid hackers. They try to steal the information. There are non-state actors. They try to cripple the economy. There have been directives come from government of India as well in terms of what happens around this. So it is a nightmare in terms of an attack. But then again, what I say is we are slightly started thinking proactively to invest into technologies, practices, processes to ensure that who can come into the inside our tech. I'm talking from the architecture perspective. Who can come into our access to our system, data, everything, and we have a digital footprint of anyone who is coming accessing our data, which is helping you to overcome this thing in a much better way. But it's a challenge, big challenge. I will not say, and it's like every day it's improvement. You improve today. Like again said, they also have access to the same technologies which we have. They also improve. Similar, like you have the classic case of virus and antivirus happens, right? You have all the antiviruses, but then still virus coming, and then you improve on. So it's a constant thing which is happening in the industry. But the key is to have an awareness about how this works, how quickly you're able to mitigate is very important. You should be able to minimize the risk even if there is a situation happens. So we distribute the data also at a much different way. So we don't put house all our data at one location. So in case if they get access inside, they are not able to steal all the information, or even if they steal information, they are not in a position to understand what that information is all about. So we try multiple techniques to ensure that we have a control over the situation.
इनोवेशन और साइबर सिक्योरिटी ये दोनों एक दूसरे के ऑपोजिट पोल्स पे लगते हैं, राइट? तो फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस कैसे बैलेंस करते हैं बिटवीन द नीड फॉर इनोवेशन एंड मेंटेनिंग स्ट्रॉन्ग साइबर सिक्योरिटी मेजर्स?
See, there are two things to it. While we keep investing on the new technologies, like artificial intelligence is a one which has come. We are trying to find out how we can deploy artificial intelligence, machine learning to understand the attacks happen, the patterns happen, loopholes. But there's also on the other side that investing into processes is also very important. Your regulators have laid out a very clear processes, whether you talk about GDPR, or the new DPDP Act which is coming in, or SEBI has a string policy about cybersecurity. So as a financial institution, our job is to ensure that we don't leave anything out from this policy. So once we implement these processes, we know that we are in a control of the situation. While we continue to invest on the new technology to speed up identifying the attacks in a much efficient way. So this is both are constant. It's not that one leaves out another one. Just because we are investing in new technologies does not mean that we don't do any processes as such. But I would say that keeping it updated to the process and following the process is much more important. Not every institution might have an access or a investment required to invest into the newer technology, but implementing the process is must. That's what I will say to all institutions, that follow all your rules, make sure that that's adhered to, and then when you're in a position to invest into the new technologies, you're able to get the best of it, the world to implement it.
Since you touched upon AI और मशीन लर्निंग जैसे टेक्नोलॉजीज काफ़ी बड़ा रोल प्ले कर रहे हैं इन साइबर सिक्योरिटी. आपके हिसाब से फाइनेंशियल इंडस्ट्री में इन टेक्नोलॉजीज का क्या कंट्रीब्यूशन है इन टर्म्स ऑफ इम्प्रूविंग सिक्योरिटी?
I mean, all security measures are tech driven. Everything is tech driven. The question is whether you go with the pattern matching, whether you go to the advanced technologies like AI is the question. Okay, AI has just come in, but last few years, not many tools have embedded with AI, which is available. So most of them work with what we call as a pattern matching algorithms. Most of the threat analysis and everything, but the newer applications which are coming, newer. Would call it as cyber security infrastructure is coming. There's a lot coming with the new AI. This is only going to improve more. The future is going to be on the AI space on cyber security. Everything is going to be driven around the cyber security because we're able to understand, learning from the past. You're able to detect. So look at this way. I will wanted to put it. When a pattern matching happens, the incident happen. You are able to identify the incident when the incident happens or just before the incident able to acquire. But in the AI, what you're able to do that much before, because you know what a similar incident happened 3 months down the line when the trigger point was not at the 90, but it was somewhere at the 40, which is what led to the 90. You were able to identify that through AI. So that's the most important factor. But again, I said, it's not available across all cyber security system. You take about threat analysis system. Not everyone is embedded with an AI, but the adoption is getting quicker, bigger, and it's just a matter of time that every kind of a tool is available with AI.
जैसे कि आपने बताया नए रेगुलेशंस लाइक जीडीपीआर और सीसीपीए भी साइबर सिक्योरिटी के स्ट्रैटेजीज में काफ़ी इम्पैक्ट डालते हैं. आपके एक्सपीरियंस में इन रेगुलेशंस का फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस पे क्या इफेक्ट पड़ता है?
Bigger effect, because again same things, most of these laws or acts are to do with the first personal information data, PI data, okay, because we collect the PI data. Almost every financial institution, when we onboard customers, we have to, in order to comply the norms, we have to do a PAN check, we have to do Aadhaar check, we have to do their bank statement check, credit rating checks, multiple personal information data. Right. Now, how do we house this personal information is very important, because whom we cannot give it, whom we should give it, who has an access to it, if they have an access, whether the customer has knows about it, has the customer is given a consent about it. Right. For example, let's say PAN check. We employ a SaaS company for a PAN verification check. We collect the data. Does customer know that there is a third party involved for verifying this PAN data? Even if it is not, even if it's not known, but as the data is stored at the third party location because you collected. So how do you measure? So these acts talk about all these things. Now the one going to come in the next year, DPDP Act, right, which is very big. It talks about everything. What you need to have a consent from customer. That and customer needs to know that this is information you collected, for what reason you have collected, how you're going to store it, and when the customer also, when he doesn't want you to carry that information longer, you should be able to delete it as well. See, there is a lot of e-garbage which we keep in terms of this personal information data. So, for example, a customer comes, we've onboarded, he transacted with us. Now, one find he closed an account and went. But we are supposed to keep the data for 7 years. That's what the regulation says. Because for any dispute or anything, for tomorrow, for you to work out, you need to have a data for 7 years. Now that means 7 years I'm keeping this data with me, which is all the data of the customer. Now the customer is not trading with us. They may not be dispute, there may not be dispute, but they have that entire personal information data too. So I have to ensure that this information is protected, not just to the customer who is transacting with me, but also the customers who have been transacted earlier. So this Act talks about all these things. So from the financial institutions perspective, investing into technologies to protect this data becomes very important. One, the data is growing. More and more customers are coming and accessing to all digital-based financial transactions. Second, housing, managing whom you will give access to it, right, and replenishing the data is also very important whenever it comes out to be. So you need to have a clear mandate, clear process. Again, and you need to have a good audit system to make sure that all these processes are adhered to.
Moving on to our next question. इंस्टीट्यूशंस को कौन से की इंडिकेटर्स या रेड फ्लैग्स पे नज़र रखनी चाहिए ताकि वो पोटेंशियल ब्रीचेस को अर्ली डिटेक्ट कर सकें?
It's a very tricky question to answer because there's multiple things to do it. So what we do is one, access of the data. That's the first thing, because anyone why would an attacker come to you? Okay, so he comes for basic two purposes. One, he wants to steal some information. Okay, and then which he can hold you for ransom, or he can sell the data outside. Okay, or any other attacker is not able to access the data, they're going to encrypt or change the data structure of what you hold. So you are not able to access your own data. You have to go to them, which is again basically a ransomware. It's two fundamental things in which. Otherwise, there's no financial gain for an attacker, right? The attacker is coming to you because of there is some gain for him. Why will he invest into a technology to ruin your business unless and until there is a gain for him? And typically the gains are financial gains, okay? Unless a non-state actors which is coming, it may not be to do with the financial gain, it to do with the crippling economy where their focus is to bring down your service for some time and overall. Suddenly, like for example, if all bank systems collapse for about went down for 2 hours, then it's going to cripple your economy. So this could be typically done from a non-state actor's perspective. But other than non-state actors, it's a financial gain. So which data will basically give a financial gain and access to that? So that's the first thing as an organization which you'll have to do, and you'll have to protect the data around it. Okay, so it's the first thing. And how do you give an access to your internal employees as well? Okay, and what do you do from an internal access perspective? You get a spam mail. Simplest thing. People don't even know. Some mail comes, you just click, and then so your employee training becomes very important. Okay, every employee needs to be aware. So it's a part of your job to be aware about cyber security threats. Okay, any individual could be that unintentional player who is letting this attacker come inside to the organization. Okay, it's not that you are. I mean, you just click the mail, you click the link, or mobile devices. There's something coming in the WhatsApp. You don't know. You click the link. You just the ransomware is coming, and then once you're come inside the system, they will keep. Second thing is eliminate as much as. Distributed in a such a way that you don't house all the data at one place. That's again very important. So as an architecture, every institutions needs to focus on that. Typically in old school, what we do is what we've been taught is keep all the data at one place so that you're able to access it, retrieve it. But that is not the way we should do it. My experience is that how much you are able to distribute it, it becomes difficult for naming convention shouldn't be. Most of them would talk about saying that I jokingly tell my team, they keep client master information as client master. It's anybody who can come into database and query saying that you client master, then you are able to get it. You have to have a different way of, so it's not accessible. Second common thing which I would wanted to read out is invest in processes and audits for organizations. So it's very important. So one, setting up a process, but how are you ensuring that everyone is following that? Is also very important. That's what the biggest, most of the organization have the process set. But very few continue to monitor on a regular basis and audit also periodically to find if there is any flaws in the system. This is where people miss out and let the attacker come inside. And then the third thing is you keep update about everything. Say antivirus. You don't compromise on those things. You have to have every PC or laptop devices protected with antivirus. It's very important. You cannot say that, okay, I'm using something and I want to this antivirus is impacting my laptop for the processing. I'm going to switch it off. No, not all. There are certain things is not all. How you cannot have a door open and sleep in the home, right? It's as equal as that. Even though you have everything, or even though you have nothing, even though you know that everything is protected, but still you keep. So organization is as good as, like, you have to start. Simplest thing is think it's like your home. How you're protecting your home. As simple as that, the way you protect your data. At the end of the day, data is very important for this organization, for any organization, because most of the organizations growing with the new digital age are housing with the data. These data are not in the physical papers. These are all digital footprints. So then all threats coming, the digital footprints, where you house it. Are you keeping it in India or keeping it outside? And the servers located. If it is who has an access to it, whether you are the only person access to it, how often who access the data. Even though you have given to employee, but if he is accessing the data which is not supposed to, you should be in a position to know. So you build a LF monitoring system, alert system. That's another thing which we'll keep wanted to say is, build an alert system. If there is anyone who's come, try to access the data, we should be alerted. So that you are in a position to immediately get inside, identify, minimize the risk. People have to invest, or organizations have to invest in this. That's one thing which I wanted to leave to all the listeners as well, that do not compromise on the processes. Though it's boring, do not compromise on the monitoring. Rest everything will come. So this sets about 60-70% job done if these two things are done. And it's about 30% is how you wanted to deploy, what tools, how much fund you have, how much investment you can make. You can make your organization better by investing into much robust tools. But I cannot advocate that everyone should go for robust tools, because it comes with its own financial implication in terms of investment. But processes, adhering to process is very important. Monitoring that everyone is adhering to the process is also equally important.
अगर हम फ्यूचर की बात करें तो आपको क्या लगता है कौन से इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज या स्ट्रैटेजीज फ्यूचर में साइबर सिक्योरिटी लैंडस्केप को शेप करेंगे?
There are multiple. I would want to start from more from the regulator's perspective. First, what the new acts which are coming, much enhanced regulatory frameworks, I would call it as. Regulatory framework is already there, but there is a huge enhancements around this. Government is also worried about this personal PA data, sensitive data. So they wanted to bring in a much better control. So DPDP Act will come. Chief Data Protection Officer is part of every institution. And like we have a Chief Information Security Officer, now we'll have a Chief Data Protection Officer as well. So that's one on the regulatory framework side. Second, the increased compliance on the audit, what you do, how you report it, how often you report it. This will become more complicated, and it'll be the periodicity in which you report all these things will be reduced. So you are working on it. So that's one thing. Which is one way it's good because it's going to help manage your sensitive data effectively. On the technology side, again, I said it's going to improve big. There's more and more tools, threat detection tools will be enabled with AI, which is going to be improved. Second thing is I'm seeing, which I've been advocating with my engineering team as well, that when we develop a new application itself, can we embed security? It's called as integrated security framework. Okay, you build the security along with it, so you don't go and invest security separately. So your application is inherently deployed, built with security measures in terms of how not to allow any third party or any access to come into to work with. So but that. Second thing, there's a quantum encryption is another one which is coming up. So how you encrypt the data, that's the way it's going to change it. So constantly you are employing a newer technique where so that attackers are not able to decrypt it effectively. These three things are pretty big. Obviously, the training part I would want to emphasize again, the employee training part, how you can make this as part of your onboarding process. Of every employee should be aware. Like everyone knows how simply they do a accounting calculation. Everyone knows about it because when they get a salary slip, they know how to calculate it. This is the kind of a knowledge which we should impart on the cybersecurity measures as well. The reason it's not just about institutions; it's also about individual. I should not get scammed, isn't it? That's also, as an individually, everyone should be aware about threats, cyber threats, part of it, because everyone now uses a device. Everyone has a PA data stored in the device. So it's an individually how people will adopt and learn about this also is going to make a bigger change. Because in my view, this third thing, which is your individual understanding about this threat and how they are able to cope up with this is most important than anything else. If this comes, half of the problem gets solved, because then you know it. Then then what happens is it's a genuine attack happens from outside is what you're worried about. There is nothing from inside. Though you'll put in a process, but tentatively you know that everyone is aware what needs to be done. Constant trainings. These are all another thing. So three things which I would want to talk about again: employee training, enhanced regulatory framework, and AI and quantum encryption are the big thing which I'm looking forward on in the future.
Sir, ये तो था institution का side, but let's now talk about the consumer front. Consumers को अपने आप को protect करने के लिए क्या steps लेने चाहिए जब वो financial services use कर रहे हैं? कोई tips जो उनको अपनी online safety improve करने के लिए help कर सकते हैं?
I would want to start this way. All institutions made up of consumers. Okay, so every consumer. So consumer security is far more important, I would say, because consumers don't invest into tools or technology like an institution does to protect themselves. So they are more exposed. Right. They are more vulnerable. So which means they're easy prey for an attacker to come in. So you have to ensure that tips which you can give us, ensure that your passwords are not guessable. It's anyone. So you know 99% of the people keep their names, common names, birthdays are the passwords. Please don't use it. It's guessable. Password should not be there. Don't share OTPs to anyone. Don't share your personal information like Aadhaar, or even if you have to share masked Aadhaar. Master PAN number, PAN cards, don't share that as it is data which can be used by somebody. Then don't share your passwords to anyone at any point of time. Don't give your device to anyone. Don't click any mails unknown mails, unknown links. You get it from anyone. Because these things can come, ransomware come into, or any malware can come into your device and then can start stealing your information, and minimize your what I would call it as the larger thing is, most as a convenience perspective, what happens is typically all this biometric and everything is that we enable face IDs. We enable finger number lock for mobile app, and in which my bank application also. But I don't want to type my user ID password every time I go to my bank app. What happens is I enable my biometric lock. It becomes a matter of convenience. But I would say, while it's a matter of convenience, it is not something which I would advise. Okay, there are certain things you should not look for a convenience. Security, your financial security is paramount than convenience. Certain times it's okay getting into your bank account every time, type password and go inside, take a OTP and do transactions. And wherever there is an alerts which are set. Typically that's another thing which I said, most of them don't enable alerts in their bank accounts. When you have they go and disable it. By default banks disable it because it's costing them SMS charges. So, and nobody knows, not many people are aware, they don't enable it as well. If there is any transaction happens in your credit card, bank account, or any of your financial instrument, you should get an alert immediately. And most of them gives as a part of their service, as an accounting services, but people don't enable it. So you don't come to know. So we've seen that, most of them we read in the newspaper saying that somebody duped him multiple transactions worth and keep giving. Why? Because they were not getting alert. They were visiting bank next day when we were printing a passbook, came to know that 49,000 rupees got duped off. That's because it's a simple functionality which is given by every feature given by every bank, that any transaction minimum beyond this you should get an alert. Okay, and just enable it, you start getting alert. So at least you are aware that what happens. Again, generic, keep updated about all what happens. This kind of cyber attacks and everything is also very important. Generic information is very important for everyone to aware, so that you know what you should not do. That's pretty common thing for consumers again.
Okay, sir. Last but not the least, आपको क्या लगता है 5 साल बाद इंडियन फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज सेक्टर की साइबर सिक्योरिटी प्रिपेयर्डनेस लेवल क्या होगी?
See, I would again say it's a constantly. If you ask me the 10 years before that question, in terms of percentage wise, if you take the attack versus preparedness percentage, it would have been at 50%, probably about 50%. That's what I would say. Because again, the access to the technology which we have, the same access to the technology that attackers also have. Okay, it's constantly, we are improving, they are going up. It's all about, as a process, how you do. There are 2-3 things. One, you are investing heavily to ensure that there is no attack happens, which is always there, which is there now, which will be there 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line. Second thing is, suppose even after that, if there is a breach happened, you are able to detect immediately. Okay. Earlier, the time to detect was much longer because you didn't have a tools available to do it. Now that I will see that reduced big time. Now we are able to detect within less than a few minutes. Okay. This is going to be even further. Now with the AI coming in, the moment you detect it, you are able to kill that attacker itself, so that it doesn't come inside. These things is going to be the next big in the next 5 years, where you are able to, not that you are not able to, the breach might still happen, but you are able to detect the breach and then control the breach effectively. That's going to be the big, but I see the big change is going to be again the point which I earlier mentioned about regulatory framework. Right. That's going to be the big game changer in the 5 years down the line. We never thought 10 years down the line or 15 years before that we are going to settle down with such a cyber security framework by the regulator, what we are sitting down now. So which means 5 years down the line, it's going to be even complex. The way the data gets accessed. Government is also worried about it, this kind of a data, more digital footprint. We never thought we'll become such a digitalized country 15 years back. So the digitalized country comes with this kind of overheads, which are basically you have a digital footprint you are creating everywhere. Now that can be used by anybody for unlawful gain. Now 5 years down the line, it's going to be furthermore. Like if you take last 10 years, the number of demat accounts open, it's almost tripled, it's quadrupled, right? Now, the next 5 years, it's going to be even more, which means there are more digital footprints, more access of the digital data available, and you are not even thinking that how many app or how many applications or services are having your PA data, and there will be a lot of governance around it, and how but government is with DPDP Act wanted to give the control to the consumer themselves, which is a great initiative. I would say that now customers should be able to withdraw the consent and take it back, and not let others access to the data. So this is going to be the very major thing which I see in the next 5 years.
साइबर सिक्योरिटी में इम्प्रूवमेंट्स तो होंगे, पर कितना ड्रास्टिक चेंज होगा ये तो वक्त ही बताएगा.
Hopefully, I think we'll have a better world tomorrow. That's what I would say always.
Fingers
15
crossed.
years before we had a different, but we are in a better world today, and there'll be better world tomorrow as well.
हरी सर, आपने जो साइबर सिक्योरिटी चैलेंजेस, इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजीज और बेस्ट प्रैक्टिसेस के बारे में इनसाइट शेयर किए हैं, उसकी वजह से हमारे लिए इस टॉपिक को समझना और भी आसान हो गया है. आज के डिजिटल एरा में फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस को अपनी साइबर सिक्योरिटी को प्रायोरिटाइज करना बहुत ज़रूरी है, और हमने इस एपिसोड में ये देखा कि कैसे कंपनीज अपने फ्रेमवर्क्स को कॉन्स्टेंटली इवॉल्व कर सकती है. हरी सर, थैंक यू सो मच. आपका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया अपना टाइम देने के लिए.
Thank you, Shiv. Likewise, it's my pleasure to be part of this conversation, and looking forward to have more sessions with you. Thank you.
तो दोस्तों, ये था बाजार एंड बियॉन्ड का आज का एपिसोड. अगर आपको ये एपिसोड हेल्पफुल लगा तो mStock चैनल को सब्सक्राइब करें, इस पॉडकास्ट को शेयर करें और अपना फीडबैक ज़रूर दें. आपके सवालों और सजेशंस का हम हमेशा इंतज़ार करते हैं. रिमेंबर, स्टे सिक्योर, स्टे इन्फॉर्म्ड और अपनी डेटा प्राइवेसी को सीरियसली लें. मिलते हैं अगले एपिसोड में विथ मोर एक्सपर्ट इनसाइट्स. टेक केयर एंड ऑफ कोर्स, हैप्पी इन्वेस्टिंग.
Investments in securities markets are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.